Hi everyone, welcome to Storytime. Today we are going to be reading some stories about the gingerbread man and gingerbread baby. We are not going to be doing a craft today. If you guys would like me to continue to do crafts as well as Storytime, you can just mention in the comments below that you would like to have a craft as well. Otherwise, we will probably just be doing Storytime, and you can check out the Nurturing Trees page for a craft every week, and they also will offer you supplies. Reynolds is also doing the same thing where they have a craft each week and you can pick up the supplies there. So we don't want to duplicate what everyone else is doing. So we're just going to stick with story time today. And the first one is the Gingerbread Man. Once upon a time, there was a little old man and a little old woman. One day, the little old woman said, "Let's make a gingerbread man." "Yes, let's do," said the old man, and they did. So they mixed up the batter, and they rolled out the dough, and they shaped the little arms, and they shaped the little legs, and they shaped the little head, and with raisins they made little eyes, and the little nose, and the little mouth, and then with the sugar glaze they dressed him in a fancy suit of clothes. When all was set, they put the gingerbread man into the oven, and they waited. Pretty soon a delicious smell coming from the oven told them that the gingerbread man was ready, and so were they. But when they opened the oven door, out popped the gingerbread man, and he ran across the floor. The little old man and the little old woman could hardly believe their eyes. The gingerbread man looked up at them, put his hands on his hips, and said, "Run, run, as fast as you can. You can't catch me. I'm the gingerbread man." The little old man reached down to grab him, but as quick as a wink, the gingerbread man ran out the door and down the road, and the little old man and the little old woman ran after him. Come back," they yelled, but the gingerbread man just looked over his shoulder and said, "No, no, I won't come back. I'd rather run than be your snack." And he kept on running. And he ran, and he ran, and he ran, and after a time he met a butcher standing in front of his shop. The gingerbread man looked up at him, put his little hands on his hips, and said, "Run, run, as fast as you can. You can't catch me. I'm the gingerbread man. I've run from a husband, I've run from a wife, and I'll run from you too. I can. The butcher reached down to grab him, but as quick as a wink, the gingerbread man ran down the road, and the butcher ran after him. "Come back," yelled the butcher. But not far behind, the little old man and the little old woman were yelling too, "Come back, come back." But the gingerbread man just looked over his shoulder and said, "No, no, I won't come back. I'd rather run than be your snack." And he kept on running, and he ran, and he ran, and he ran. And after a time, he met a black and white cow. The gingerbread man looked up at her, put his little hands on his hips, and said, "Run, run, as fast as you can. You can't catch me. I'm the gingerbread man. I ran from a husband, I ran from a wife, I ran from a butcher with a carving knife, and I'll run from you too. I can. The black and white cow reached out to grab him, but quick as a wink, the gingerbread man ran on down the road, and the black and white cow ran after him. "Come back," yelled the black and white cow, and not far behind, the little old man and the little old woman and the butcher with the knife were yelling too, "Come back, come back, come back." But the gingerbread man just looked over his shoulder and said, "No, no, I won't come back. I'd rather run than be your snack." And he kept on running, and he ran, and he ran, and he ran. And after a time, he met a muddy old sow. The gingerbread man looked up at her, put his little hands on his hips, and said, "Run, run, as fast as you can. You can't catch me. I'm the gingerbread man. I've run from a husband, I've run from a wife, I've run from a butcher with a carving knife. I've run from a cow, all black and white, and I can run from you too. I can. The muddy old sow reached out to grab him, but as quick as a wink, the gingerbread ran on down the road, and the muddy old sow ran after him. "Come back," yelled the muddy old sow. And not far behind, the little old man and the little old woman, the butcher with the knife, and the black and white cow were yelling too, "Come back, come back, come back, come back." But the gingerbread man just looked over his shoulder and said, "No, no, I won't come back. I'd rather run than be your snack." And he kept on running. And he ran, and he ran, and he ran. After a time he met a fox, and the gingerbread man looked at him, put his little hands on his hips, and said, "Run, run as fast as you can. You can't catch me. I'm the gingerbread man. I've run from a husband, I've run from a wife, I've run from a butcher with a carving knife. I've run from a cow and a muddy old sow, and I'll run from you too. I can, I can." "What did you say?" asked the fox. The tricky fox pretended that he couldn't hear well. "I'm not as young as I used to be," he said. "You'll have to come closer and speak louder." The gingerbread man stepped closer, and in a very loud voice he said, "Run, run as fast as you can. You can't catch me. I'm the gingerbread man. I've run from a husband, I've run from a wife, I've run from a butcher with a carving knife. I've run from a cow and a muddy old sow, and I'll run from you too. I can, I can." Just then the little old man and the little old woman and the butcher with the knife and the black and white cow and the muddy old sow came running around a turn in the road, and they were yelling, "Come back, come back, come back, come back." The gingerbread man looked over his shoulder, but before he could say a single word, the fox jumped up and grabbed him. Quick as a wink, before he could think, with a snap and a snick and a lap and a lick, the gingerbread man was gone. The little old man and the little old woman and the butcher with a knife and the black and white cow and the muddy old sow all stood and stared sadly at the fox. He hadn't left a single crumb for anyone. Riddle, riddle, ran, fiddle, fiddle, fan. So ends the tale of the gingerbread man. We have a much more exciting book that doesn't end so sadly for the gingerbread man. This is the gingerbread baby. And if you look around the edges, you'll see another part of this story. Jan Brett likes to paint pictures inside of pictures. So if you watch the little boy in here in the corner, I'll try and keep it close. But it tells a story too. It was cold outside. It was warm inside. A fine day for gingerbread, Maddie thought. Maddie's mother put the big blue bowl on the table and lit the stove. Maddie took down a worn-looking cookbook with old-fashioned writing on the cover. He opened it up to the page that said, "Gingerbread Boy." They measured and mixed. Maddie rolled the dough into the shape of a gingerbread boy, and they popped him in the oven. "Bake for a full 8 minutes, no more, no less. Do not peek," the recipe read. Maddie listened to the clock. Tick, tock, tick. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4, 5. Maddie couldn't wait any longer. He opened the oven door to take a peek. Instead of a gingerbread boy, out jumped a gingerbread baby. He pranced around the big blue bowl. "I'm the gingerbread baby, fresh from the pan. If you want me, catch me if you can." Maddie's mother reached for the gingerbread baby to put him back in the oven, but he ran all around the kitchen. The door opened, and in came Maddie's father. "What's that delicious smell?" he asked as the gingerbread baby tumbled through his legs and outside into the yard. He ran by the tabby cat. She twitched her tail and sprang at him. They rumbled and tumbled, but the gingerbread baby came out on top. He ran toward the garden wall. The dog caught a whiff of the tasty ginger and sniffed along behind him. But the gingerbread baby was halfway up when the dog caught up. He barked and barked as the gingerbread baby climbed over the wall. Maddie was still inside. He heard his mother and father yelling. He heard a cat meowing and a dog barking. And he heard the gingerbread baby shouting, "Catch me if you can!" Maddie opened the worn-looking cookbook for the second time. Meanwhile, the gingerbread baby wheeled on down the path and into the barn. The goats looked up as he somersaulted across their backs. The last one tried to catch him, but the gingerbread baby was too fast. Martha and Madeline were standing by the well when the gingerbread baby stopped to take a drink. They looked at each other and winked. Martha started to talk to him while Madeline tiptoed up behind him with the bucket. But they couldn't fool the gingerbread baby. He took a braid from Martha and a braid from Madeline and tied them in a knot and ran down the road. Back at the house, Maddie stirred, mixed, and rolled the dough. He shaped it and put it in a pan and into the oven. Tick-tock, tick, 8 long minutes. This time he didn't peek. I'll catch him if I can, Manny said to himself. As he was bouncing along, the gingerbread baby saw a farm wagon just ahead. He jumped in and settled down for the ride next to a mama pig. The smell of gingerbread was too much for her. She tossed him high in the air, closed her eyes, and opened her mouth. But the gingerbread baby twisted in the air and came down hard on her porky snout. I'm the gingerbread baby, too quick for the mother and the father, too fast for the cat and the dog, the goats, too clever for Martha and Madeline, too smart for the mama pig. Who's left? Catch me if you can. Feeling smug, the gingerbread baby strolled along by himself until he came to a bridge that crossed over to the village. Just as he got to the middle, he heard running feet behind him and saw a crowd of villagers ahead of him. The gingerbread baby was trapped. He jumped onto the railing, backflipped through the air, and landed on a chunk of ice floating down the river. Uh-oh, here comes the fox. The ice bobbed along with the gingerbread baby dancing on top and singing in a loud voice, Look at me, and what do you see? The best gingerbread baby ever, until his feet got cold and he jumped ashore. Who was that watching from the trees? It was the fox. He crept up behind the gingerbread baby, ready to eat him up, but the fox couldn't help himself, and he licked his chops. Smack, smack. The gingerbread baby heard him and ran as fast as he could. Just when the fox was catching up, the gingerbread baby saw the milk and cheese man with his cans of milk. The perfect hiding place, he thought. He lifted the lid and lowered himself inside. He was so pleased that he sang at the top of his gingerbread voice. Ha ha hee hee, you'll never find me. I'm the gingerbread baby. Catch me if you can. The milk and cheese man heard the gingerbread baby's voice. Who's meddling with my milk? He shouted and lifted the lid, but the gingerbread baby was ready. He jumped up and tweaked his nose. Now the milk and cheese man, the fox, the villagers, the mama pig, Martha and Madeline, the bleating goats, the barking dog, the meowing cat, the father, the mother were all after the gingerbread baby and getting closer, and he knew it. The brash baby was not as peppy and as proud as he had been. He sniffed a familiar scent and followed his nose into the woods. He couldn't believe what he saw. There in the middle of a clearing was a gingerbread house, frosted with sugar, covered with candy, and doors with peppermint handles wide open. The gingerbread baby clapped his hands with glee and ran inside. In a tick-tock-tick, everyone arrived in the clearing, but all they found were a few bits of frosting, peppermint candy, and some crumbs. The father exclaimed, The gingerbread baby has finally met his match. I wonder who it was, said the mother. Let's go home and tell Maddie. Hello, Maddie, his father said when they got home. We never did catch that gingerbread baby. All we found were some crumbs in the snow. I see you've been busy, his mother said, looking at the gingerbread house Maddie was holding. Too bad we never caught the gingerbread baby. Too bad, said Maddie. Only Maddie could hear the tiny voice from inside the gingerbread house. I'm the little gingerbread baby, lucky as can be, to be living in a house that Maddie made for me. And that's the end of that story. And if you want to find out what happens next to the gingerbread baby, you can check out our gingerbread friends to find out the next episode of the gingerbread baby. All right, that's all for today, guys. And if you do want to do a craft, you can put together some graham crackers frosting, and if you have any leftover Halloween candy, you can use that to decorate, or you can ask your parents to get a gingerbread house craft for you at the store. See you soon.